What's next for humanity?
I'm hopeful that hope and happiness will always find its way through.
What's next for the industry?
Widespread disruption.
Is Web3 supported by the big movie houses, by Netflix, for instance?
It conflicts to a certain extent because that opaqueness benefits them in a lot of cases. However, I also believe that if the studios and the streamers see a way of making money and adding a revenue stream to what they do, they will develop it and apply it to what they're doing.
Welcome to The Next, everyone, the show that talks about next generation disruption in industry, finance, and lifestyle and culture. Today we have a very special guest, Phil. Hi, Phil. Phil McKenzie. He's why don't you introduce yourself?
For sure. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on. So my background is co-founder of Myco, the world's largest watching and streaming platform based out of Dubai, which you know very well, but also co-founder of a business called Goldfinch out of the UK, which is one of the leading financier and production companies there.
So you work very closely, obviously, in the film industry. You've had your whole career in the film industry. Could you give us a sort of brief about how you got to where you got to today?
Sure. I mean, it's as everyone does in the UK, especially. There's the bit of a circuitous route to get in there, but yeah. I mean, I started out, studying politics at university, which on one hand is completely useless for what I'm doing, but actually there's a hell of a lot of politics in the entertainment sector, so it has come in handy in maybe less practical ways, but. And after that, I went on to do like a graduate scheme at a FMCG company, and then really was about to join another job, and then got an opportunity to join Goldfinch right at the start with Kirsty, which I jumped at, and just built it together from there. Initially around financing. We raised and deployed an amount of money using EIS and SEIS schemes, which were kind of all the rage at the time. Very quickly learned that if you have finance, everyone beats a path to your door within the film and TV sector. And then just built it out from there. We moved from using EIS to working with private investors and institutions, and then added on other elements to what we do within the business. So a number of production labels, and then getting involved in more tech creative startups as well, where we see the future lying, and then more recently looking into the Middle East and Far East, to take what we've done successfully in Europe and North America into booming parts of the emerging economies that are using the creative sector as a key driver of their growth. But within that, I was lucky enough to meet Ahmed, the founder of Myco, and was blown away by what he'd achieved in such a short space of time with pretty much most of the team that's still here. And over about 6 months, really, it was convincing him that I could help him with all the bits that he needed help on, which they'd built an amazing platform and a fantastic community. Raised a chunk of money, had started investing it, but there's a big graveyard of investors and companies within the entertainment sector that have raised a load of money and then spent it very quickly and with little effect. So my pitch and the reason I initially came into Myco was to assist on the content side and helping with their strategy and building the team out, but over the last 3 and a bit years, really, taken more of a role to help them on their strategy and investment raising and general, co-founder role within the business.
I hear you've also won a BAFTA and an Oscar.
Won a BAFTA and an Oscar for a short film called An Irish Goodbye, which we're very proud of. I always like to say the director and won the award. We were executive producers on it, but I mean it was great to be involved in that process, and it's a beautiful film, very close to being a perfect sort of 20 minutes, 25 minutes of cinema. So if anybody gets the opportunity, go and check it out because it's
definitely
beautifully made.
Definitely. So you're involved a lot. You mentioned being involved in Web3, in AI. This show is about that, right? Not from a sort of hype kind of crypto hype thing, but sort of crypto hype type sort of marketing, but you've effectively, you're going into like we both have experience with traditional film financing where everything is sort of sold via guarantees or bank guarantees or via pre-sales, etc. How does Web3 change that?
Yep.
And what problem does Web3 solve that traditional financing for films doesn't?
Most of the problems, because the things that the blockchain and tokenization does, which is all around transparency and being able to track payments or the movement of IP, is exactly the kind of pain points within the, or major pain points within the entertainment sector, across all the creative sectors, whether it's film, TV, music. So it has the potential to solve for a lot of those things, and it's interesting that
how
well really from beginning to end, from when you're funding, there's just a complete the entire process is very opaque, and is also very siloed. So the funding aspect, which really gets the production off the ground, then is run by the producer and is. As an investor, you're not necessarily sure about the other parties that are involved and how the whole capital stack is being put together. Now, you should be, and you should ask those questions, but in a lot of cases, they're not. Then as you move into production, which tends to, exist as a next stage, and again, in a separate silo, the funds are spent and on various things, but there's no... And there's accounting software that does that, but there's no trackable and traceable element to it. And then the most important bit is obviously when you come to release the title, and hopefully you begin to see revenues come back in for all that hard work that may have taken years to.
The back end, as they call it. The
back end, yeah. Not even necessarily the back end. It could just be the commitments from contracts to buy the film, say pre-sales or minimum guarantees, from people that have supported the film and said, look, we'll pay you $100,000 if you deliver this film to us, and that helps get the film made early, helps get the film financed. Whether it's those commitments or back end, revenues coming in, you're very reliant on really the trust and accountability of a handful of actors and companies to collate that money. And then send it back responsibly, back up that sort of, food chain to get through the production, into the production's hands, pay the production, the producer what they need, or the director their back end points or whatever, and then ultimately as well to the investor as well, and ensure that they.
And someone could just run away with that money.
Someone can. It's ripe for mismanagement, fraud, and all of the things, and there's many stories that are that have hit the mainstream press about how that's been used and abused, but the whole thing is sort of, as I said, wrapped in this opaqueness that makes it very difficult to understand what is going on at any stage, and even for the person who's meant to be in control of that process, the producer. They can have huge amounts of difficulty in just understanding where is the money and where is it coming back from on those distribution revenues coming back into
in
the
terms
production.
Of where the money comes from. And Web3, we all talk about sort of tokenization. We all talk about ICOs. Does that have any aspect in funding films?
Absolutely, because like any asset class, there's a benefit to tokenizing, that initial fundraising part. Firstly, to provide a more structured approach to collating all these different funding parties together, which every film needs, and increasingly there'll be more and more funding parties involved in the capital stack at the start. But also, what you're seeing really take flight now, which is exciting. And there was elements of this in the sort of in the boom sort of 3 and a bit years ago. You saw people talking about Web3 and it being able to use to engage with the community and use the community to fund, but it never really got off the ground.
No, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I don't see many films that are funded by Web3.
There's barely any. I mean, there's a handful. But now you're seeing that tokenized, to your point about how does tokenize help and solve it? It helps by putting structure around the bigger investors coming into it, but it gives an opportunity to bring in the community and the masses in as well to it. And you're starting to see platforms such as Republic. They've probably been the ones banging the drum hardest, with some really big filmmakers, and that helps that the big filmmakers are there because they, the community and the audience recognize them. But that will trickle down, and people will start to understand, both on the filmmaking side and the audience side, that this is a possibility. It's a possibility to get in early and contribute anything from $10, $50, $100, $1,000, whatever, and to get a piece of the IP, a piece of that back end revenue, maybe. I mean, it's 1 in a million that you will foresee that, but it's really about feeling like you're engaged in the process, and a bit of that idea that you're a key patron and benefactor to someone that you really want to support along the way, and you get other benefits and unlock other things for sure. But so I think it institutionalizes it in a way which is good, in an easy fashion for filmmakers, but it opens it up to the community as well in an exciting way.
Is Web3 supported by the big movie houses, by the big movie production houses, by Netflix, for instance? Do you see those big companies moving towards that direction, or is it still too nascent? Is it still too early? Does it conflict with what they're doing?
It's a great question. I think it conflicts to a certain extent, because that opaqueness benefits them in a lot of cases. However, I also believe that if the studios and the streamers see a way of making money and adding a revenue stream to what they do and making something more efficient, then they will develop it and install it and apply it to what they're doing. And when we saw the sort of crypto boom in 3 years ago, all the studios and all the agencies were sniffing around crypto and thinking, maybe this solves a lot of problems. But really what they were thinking was there was money there, and there was cash that they could access and bring into productions. And that's not wrong, for sure. There is, and there will be, and that's a key part of this. But I don't know how much effort they're putting into using the fundamental technology to fix the problems there are. I think there's a lot of good examples of companies coming through that are doing it. And the challenge for those companies is, how do they get adoption from those bigger players to really scale it, to scale that technology and the solutions for the industry in general.
So where do you see the next 12 or 24 or 36 months moving in your industry? Do you see that there is going to be a paradigm shift in how in the integration of Web3 into film, or do you feel that it's still like just pie in the sky?
I think it's going to, as with all sectors, you're sort of seeing this more discrete, almost like backdoor integration, for want of a better term, of Web3 and blockchain into everything. All the investment funds, any financial institution isn't just looking at Bitcoin investment. They're looking at how can we tokenize and run what we do through the blockchain for benefits. And so, as I said before, you're starting to see some green shoots and traction with the community funding bit, which I think is super exciting. I think there's some companies that are getting traction with the efficiencies and the tracking and tracing. I still think there's an opportunity to build something that incorporates a lot of companies that are focused on different bits of that silo I mentioned at the start. I don't think it's going to be a eureka moment, like a big step forward.
Do you see Hollywood as ever embracing this?
Or is it going to be driven by? I think it'll be driven from the ground up. I think it's got more chance of being driven from the ground up in the independent side of the sector, and embracing community to bring them into those indie productions. However, for it to scale and really grow, it does need to be embraced. It does need to be taken on by those bigger players. The thing that's going to really change, and is changing, is AI. Yeah. But my take on AI and Web3 is the two need to work hand in hand, because AI without the ability to track and trace the IP that is being which is being blown up through that process of AI filmmaking, is dangerous, and it becomes something that's difficult to understand who owns what and where's it going.
Exactly. Well, AI brings a whole issue, right?
Yeah.
Which is, if something's produced by AI, who owns the copyright?
Exactly. And this is like almost the case study for what can the blockchain solve and support, and it's AI. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think there's big opportunity, the melding of those two technologies together to fix a lot of problems and to unlock a lot of opportunities. And there's the obvious things that we're going to see happen with AI. The cost of production is going to be zero, or as close to zero as possible. The ability to distribute is going to be huge. So then it comes down to who can connect with our audience best. Who are the people that understand? So
who
marketing
can prompt
engagement.
The AI?
I think to a certain extent, but I think that'll just become. That'll become very easy as well in time, as you know what I mean. Like, not in time, in very short.
We live in a world of deep fakes now, right? With Google Veo 3, for instance. Yeah. Already we're seeing it on like Instagram Reels and stuff. Yeah. But we're going to see that in mainstream film.
Potentially, yeah. I think we will. I think we'll see. So there's been a lot of talk about hyper bespoke content that you can go in and swap. As you can on Netflix now, seamlessly between languages and subtitles and dubbing. That you can go in and swap the people around, or
the scenarios,
scenarios and the stories. And there's some stuff that I've been lucky to be involved in that is almost like remixing IP and working out that you can take different stories in different directions, which I think is super exciting. But my kind of overall take on where are we going in 12, 24, 36 months is that we just need to be super conscious that whatever we're doing is to the benefit of the audience. And this is why I'm so bullish on what we do at Myco, because Myco took Web3 technology and made it into something that wasn't just about the creators, but was about how do we reward the audience and give the audience something that they don't normally get. And the same goes for AI and the revolution and disruption that's happening. We need to use AI to deliver better content and experience for the audience, because now that everybody can make it, as I said, the battle becomes how do we better engage our audience with it. So the winners, I think, overall are going to be the companies and the creators that really harness in a way that benefits the audience more than anything. So I can't look into the crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen in 12 months. That's how crazy it is. But in my eyes, that's exciting. That's as long as you're nimble and you've got an open mind and you're experimenting with these things, like there's going to be a lot of opportunity and exciting things that come out in the next 12 months. In 24 months, God only knows. 36 months, whatever's going to happen. Yeah.
So just to end things, because I know we don't have a lot of time with you today. The last bit of the show, it's quick fire, 4 questions.
Yep.
First, it's because this podcast is called The Next, right? So what's the next for you, Phil? 3 sentences max.
Oh, it's very difficult. I couldn't even surmise into 2-3 sentences or what?
Just very quick.
I'd say creating the creative economic rails of the future.
Creating the
creative economic rails of the future.
Fantastic. That's very, very broad.
Say that again, ask them the question again.
So I'll start the section and we can just. So Phil, this next section is called The Next.
Yeah.
Right. 4 questions. First question: what is the next for Phil?
I would say creating the creative sector rails of the future.
Creating the creative sector rails of the future. Okay.
It's a tongue twister.
Tongue twister, exactly. Second question: what's next for the industry?
Widespread disruption and a little bit of pain and opportunity, I hope.
And for your 2 ventures, obviously Myco and Goldfinch, what's next for them?
Myco continue to dominate the space we're in. The hockey stick of growth continues to just extend and extend and extend. So that's exciting that we just continue on that path and double down on what we're great at and what we know. and the audience and foothold we built in, particularly in South Asia, with that audience, and around great sports rights that we're getting more and more access to, like English Premier League, Asia
Had
Cup
English Premier League in Pakistan and
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh. Very cool.
Yeah, and then
Newcastle fan?
Newcastle fan, yeah.
Unfortunately. Sorry.
Yeah.
No one's perfect.
It's been a tricky start to this season. No one foresaw the. But yeah, let's not start.
Yeah, let's not go into that.
And then on Goldfinch, it's we've got a number of things being launched in the Middle East and Asia around debt funding, which is very exciting, and infrastructure and ecosystem investments as well. So that's where I'm excited about taking what we've built and the relationships we have in Europe and North America, and then applying them and leveraging in exciting emerging economies of the world.
Last question. This is the hardest one. What's next for humanity? We've been talking
after yesterday. I'm a little bit like what's next for humanity.
We're talking about AI, Web3, the future, technology. What's
hopefully,
next?
I mean, my hope. Everyone can be a little bit negative about, or a bit doomsday about where things are going. I'm hopeful that we'll always find, positive and optimism and hope and happiness will always find its way through. And we saw this with the internet. When the internet came out, that everyone was terrified about what it was going to do and, dissemination of information. But really, the internet is used. I says my wife says this,
bugs,
which is like thank God for the internet. When you see like these funny memes and things that come out that poke fun at like crazy political things or wars happening or whatever, and I sort of have a faith that whatever technology we have is just gonna, in the end, help us move forward and maybe free up more time and capacity and resource to do better would be my very optimistic wish, I suppose, for what's next.
Fantastic. So Phil, thank you very much for coming on tonight.
It's a pleasure.
Phil, you're a BAFTA award-winning, Oscar-winning.
Oscar, yeah.
You sort of
it's the BAFTA first. It's the BAFTA
first,
yeah,
right? You don't lead with that, do you?
No,
you don't like to talk about it.
I'm British, so I find it very, very difficult to accept any sort of vague award or success.
Well, BAFTA's not vague, is it?
No, but I was being British as well, wasn't it? No, I don't lead with it. Like it's not like in all the businesses that I've worked with and the people we work with. I think like it's not we don't lead with that sort of thing.
Good. Thanks very much for coming on, and
that's our pleasure. Thank you.
We try to keep it short today, but thank you.
Great.